Business owner, and please help me welcome Michael Cooksey as he shares this presentation. It's time to speak up. Mr. Michael Cooksey.
It's time to speak up. My name is Michael Cooksey. And I came up with this title because sometimes when we are asked to speak, we don't really have a lot of notice. Sometimes it's an abrupt invitation. I want to share with you what happened to me. Now, I recently finished a family reunion that I organized. Very busy weekend on Labor Day, which got me behind on my business obligations as well. And still fielding phone calls from the family reunion about from certain family members. I didn't like this happened. So Ivan called me and he said, I'm working on the schedule. I'm working on the schedule for Toastmasters. We need a speaker. I'm full of excuses. I say, hey man, I had a reunion. I'm still getting phone calls from. I still got some fires to put out with the business. Let me call you back in 2 hours and see what I can come up with. Then Ivan didn't stop there. He just didn't call the next person. He put on his recruiter's hat. And he said, look, Mike, all you have to do is tell the story. Get up and tell the story. I said, yeah, it's easy for you to say. He said, you had to rush home last week because your mother was in a forest fire. She had to evacuate your home. Would you need notes to get up and tell that story? I said, no, I wouldn't. He said, you hosted you were over a family reunion a couple of weeks ago. Would you need notes to tell what happened at the reunion? I said, well, no, I really wouldn't. I can do it without notes. So he's a pretty convincing recruit. And I said, okay. I eventually said, okay. Now, we all have challenges. Well, let me back up. I want to encourage you. When you're asked to speak, now it may be a professional organization. It may be a church event. It may be a family reunion, because you need to encourage different generations to come back once a year in fellowship. We all have those. We're all going to have those opportunities to speak. Your church may need a master or mistress of ceremony. And your professional organization may need that keynote speaker to put the final touches on that banquet or that event that they're having. We're all going to be asked to speak eventually. And I want to encourage this group in particular. I want to encourage you to keep making the sacrifice and coming out every Tuesday night. Now understand, some nights we're going to miss because we have obligations. There's some of us, I don't know how many of us like to cook, but maybe you'd like to cook dinner for your family. You may laugh at me, your husband may say she don't cook. Maybe you have, Tracy, maybe you have some honeydews. Maybe you have a lot of honeydews that your wife would like to see you do. But we all have sacrifices, and we show our sacrifice when we show up on Tuesday nights. Myself, I love to take my daughter to basketball practice. So I think she's a chip off the old block. Okay. But we all have sacrifices. And the sacrifices that we make prepares us for our upcoming event to speak. Now the challenge with these sacrifices is we don't know the date, nor the time, nor the venue on which we will speak while we're coming out. We're just coming out here to work on our craft. And I'll make it personal. That's my challenge. I don't have that information, but because I do believe that my Heavenly Father guides everything that I do. He has all that information. And sometimes when I'm driving out here to the world-renowned Brantford Toastmasters, I often pray and say, Lord, why is it that you have me coming out here? I understand it's for professional improvement, but why is it that you keep having me coming out here? But I'm going to go, and that contributes to, sometimes I drag in very late, and you guys have seen that. That contributes to that. But we need to keep making the sacrifice. Now, I want to tell you about a story. True story. Happened to me maybe 2 weeks ago. Once a year, El Centro college that I finished from, Diagnostic Medical Sonography program, their students put on a pathologies at the Paramount. So what it is, it's a seminar that the graduating class puts on. They present cases, just like a real seminar, and we get continuing education points for it. And I like to go there just to sit in the audience and just, see how they're doing and understand that that's their first time getting up, probably their first time getting up making a presentation. And as I learned here, you can learn a lot from evaluating and looking at others speak. So this seminar was about 4 hours. They did a very good job. I was impressed. Also, what I was thinking in my mind, I only have 4 hours to be here. I have a church event that starts 30 minutes after I leave. That I have an obligation, it was church picnic, I have an obligation to be there because my family was going to be there. Well, I'm about to rush out, shaking a few hands, saying, hey, you did a good job, you did a good job, and keep up the good work, I really enjoyed the seminar. My previous director was there that put together the seminar and that taught me 20 years ago. And I said, hey, Jan, it's always good to see you. While I was rushing out, she said, Michael, hold on. I want to introduce you to some students. I said, well, Jan, I only got a few minutes. To go. And she said, well, I want to introduce you to these students. And the students, they did a great job. And they were all very excited to meet me, and I'm scratching my head. I was like, okay, they've seen a couple of advertisements I've done, a TV commercial, a billboard. They just get excited when they meet me, and I was like, okay, all I did was stand up and smile. Why y'all guys so excited? But I kept those words to myself. So they introduced themselves, and about 3 or 4 of them, and I found out that they were a committee for the class. And I said, okay, well, nice to meet all of you. Jan, the program director, the current program director, said, Michael, they have something to ask you. I looked at Jan. I looked at the students. Said, okay, I really got to go, but okay. And they asked me, we would be honored if you would be the keynote speaker at our commencement exercise in December. My mouth stayed open. I had to remember to close it. And I looked at Jan again, and I looked back at the students. I said, and I'm wondering in my mind, is this the only commencement exercise you're going to have this year? Or is it going to be 2 or 3, or is this the only one you've been working for about 3 years? But I did not ask that question. But I swear it was on my mind. I said, let me get back with you. So after a hectic family reunion, I sent an email to Jan Bryant, the director, and I said I'd be honored to speak at your commencement exercise. What gave me a new sense of fear and urgency to rush back to Toastmasters. and continue to make that sacrifice and prepare. For this is a group that has helped me tremendously. For my first keynote address, when I addressed the Radiology Association, their annual banquet for North Texas. So I'm rushing back to you again with a renewed sense of urgency to help me prepare for that next one. Again, you know not your next presentation, when you're needed to speak, or when someone is looking at you and really want to hear from you. So I would encourage you to keep making the sacrifice on Tuesday nights and keep working on your craft, Mr. Toastmaster.